Have you ever looked at a beautiful luxury handbag and seen it as a mark of success or a well-deserved treat? Many people do. But what if I told you that behind that expensive logo and flawless design, you could be carrying a symbol of spiritual darkness without even knowing it? The Bible is clear in 2 Corinthians 11:14 that the enemy himself masquerades as an angel of light. His most dangerous deceptions aren't ugly and scary. They are beautiful, desirable, and they carry a hefty price tag. You might have one of these brands in your home right now, completely unaware of the occult symbols and tributes to pagan gods that are woven into its very fabric. This is not just about fashion. This is a war for your soul, and the brands you choose are a statement of allegiance. Today, we are going to pull back the curtain and expose the shocking truth behind 5 of the world's most powerful luxury brands. What you are about to learn is a spiritual revelation that will equip you to see the hidden dangers in the world around you. You absolutely must stay until the end, because the 5th and final brand we uncover uses a deception so subtle and traditional, millions of people have fallen for it. Before we dive in, I've noticed that a huge number of people who are blessed by these videos are not actually subscribed to the channel. If you believe in the power of God's truth, please take 1 second to hit the subscribe button now so you don't miss the vital spiritual intelligence we share. And tell me in the comments below, has a logo or brand ever made you feel spiritually uncomfortable? Your testimony is important. Well, my friend, let's begin this journey together. And it's best we start with a brand that many see as the absolute pinnacle of class and sophistication. Hermès. It's a name that drips with exclusivity, whispered in revered tones among those who appreciate the finer things. But have you ever stopped, I mean truly stopped, to consider the name itself? It's not just a fancy-sounding word. Oh no, there's a much deeper story here, and it's our first major clue in this landscape of spiritual deception. The name Hermès is a direct tribute to a figure from Greek mythology, one of the more prominent pagan gods, Hermes. He wasn't just any deity, he was the messenger, the one who traveled between the world of the living and the underworld, a guide for the souls of the dead. Now you have to ask yourself, why would a brand that crafts such beautiful luxury handbags choose to align itself with a figure so deeply entrenched in pagan lore and the realm of the dead? This isn't an accident, it's a deliberate statement. We're immediately confronted with the normalization of paganism, packaging it in a way that is not only acceptable but desirable. These are the kinds of subtle entry points the enemy uses, cloaking ancient spiritual systems in modern appeal, a clear warning sign for anyone with eyes to see. The biblical warnings about honoring other gods are not just ancient history. They are profoundly relevant in our modern marketplace, where even the most coveted luxury handbags can carry a name tied to ancient spiritual darkness. It's a classic case of spiritual deception hiding in plain sight. Now, let's dig a little deeper. Beyond just the name, think about the symbols associated with Hermès. You've likely seen the image of a horse-drawn carriage, which seems innocent enough, right? But the true occult symbolism often lies in the details that are less advertised but deeply connected to the brand's identity. The spirit of the god Hermes is intrinsically linked to the caduceus, the famous staff with 2 snakes wrapped around it. This symbol is profoundly significant in esoteric circles. On the surface, it represents commerce and negotiation, which fits a luxury brand. But in the world of occult symbolism, it represents duality, the union of opposing forces, and the path to so-called enlightenment through hidden knowledge, a core tenet of Hermeticism. And what about those snakes? For any student of the Bible, the serpent is an immediate red flag. It's the very creature the enemy used in the Garden of Eden to introduce the first and greatest spiritual deception upon mankind. To see it celebrated, wrapped around a staff of power, is a chilling echo of that original lie. It's a subtle nod to a power that is not of God, a glorification of a creature tied to our fall from grace. This is how pagan gods are honored not just in name, but in the very symbols they carry, and these luxury handbags become unknowing vessels for these ancient signs. Let's talk about the experience of trying to acquire one of these famous luxury handbags, like a Birkin or a Kelly. It's not a simple transaction, is it? You can't just walk in with money and buy one. Oh no, it's a process, a ritual even. You have to build a relationship with the brand, spend a significant amount on other items, and only then might you be deemed worthy of being offered the chance to purchase one. Doesn't this feel less like shopping and more like an initiation? It mirrors the very structure of secret societies and occult orders, where initiates must pass tests and prove their loyalty and worth before being granted access to the inner circle and its secrets. This manufactured exclusivity creates a powerful sense of covetousness, a deep-seated desire that goes beyond simple appreciation for craftsmanship. It becomes an idol. This is a masterful form of spiritual deception, turning a material object into the ultimate prize in a game of worthiness. The entire system is designed to make you yearn, to make you strive, to make you place an inordinate amount of value and identity into the possession of this one thing. It's a system that preys on the human need for acceptance and status, but elevates a simple product to a place that only God should occupy in our hearts. This brings us to a direct and unavoidable clash with biblical truth. The Bible is crystal clear on this matter. In Matthew 6:24, Jesus himself gives us one of the most direct biblical warnings. No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. When the pursuit of luxury handbags becomes a ritualistic obsession, a quest for worthiness, you are dangerously close to serving mammon. Furthermore, in Colossians 3:5, we are instructed to put to death, therefore, whatever belongs to your earthly nature: sexual immorality, impurity, lust, evil desires, and greed, which is idolatry. The system Hermès has created is a perfect engine for greed and covetousness, making it a clear form of modern-day idolatry. And what does the Bible say about honoring pagan gods, even indirectly? Deuteronomy 32:17 gives a stark warning, stating that the Israelites sacrificed to demons, which are not God, gods they had not known, gods that recently appeared, gods your ancestors did not fear. When a brand so openly honors one of these pagan gods, are we not by extension giving honor and energy to the very spiritual forces that stand in opposition to our Creator? So, as we reflect on this, we see a pattern emerging. It begins with a name tied to pagan gods, reinforced by occult symbolism, and solidified through a ritualistic system of acquisition that fosters idolatry. It's a perfect storm of spiritual deception, all wrapped in the beautiful, irresistible package of the world's most exclusive luxury handbags. The biblical warnings are not there to rob us of joy or beauty, but to protect us from snares that seek to capture our hearts and our worship. The case of Hermès is a powerful first lesson in learning to see the world with spiritual eyes, to discern the hidden messages in the culture around us. It shows us that the battle for our souls is often fought on subtle ground, where evil is masterfully disguised as elegance. But this is just the beginning of our journey. If you think the subtle tribute to a pagan god is concerning, wait until you see how our next brand uses a far more terrifying mythological figure, one whose gaze was said to turn men to stone. Her image is not hidden. It's placed front and center, a bold declaration of a very different kind of power. All right, let's move on. If Hermès was a subtle whisper of paganism, Versace is a loud, unapologetic roar. You can't miss it. Right there, on their opulent luxury handbags and clothing, is the head of Medusa. Now let's not just brush this off as a cool design. We have to understand who Medusa was. In the tales of the pagan gods, she was a terrifying figure, a gorgon with snakes for hair whose gaze was so powerful, so hypnotic, that it turned living men into cold, dead stone. This isn't a symbol of beauty. It's a symbol of spiritual paralysis. Gianni Versace himself admitted he chose her because he wanted his fashion to have a fatal attraction, to make people fall in love with the brand with no way back. My friend, what is that if not the language of a spell, an enchantment? This is a clear instance of spiritual deception, where a symbol of death and control is rebranded as high fashion. The occult symbolism here is dangerously overt. To be captivated by Medusa is to be spiritually frozen, fixated on the vanity of the world, unable to turn your gaze toward God. It's a chillingly effective strategy, using the allure of fashion to cast a wide net of enchantment. The biblical warnings against this are sharp and precise. Think about Deuteronomy 4:16-17, where God commands us not to make for ourselves an idol in the form of anything, whether male or female, or of any animal on earth or any bird in the air. A graven image of a mythological creature like Medusa falls squarely into this warning. It is a direct violation of the second commandment. Then consider the Apostle Paul's cry in Galatians 3:1. "O foolish Galatians, who has bewitched you?" He was speaking to believers who were being led astray by false teachings, but the principle is the same. When we allow ourselves to be captivated and mesmerized by these potent symbols, we are opening ourselves up to being bewitched, led away from the simplicity and purity of devotion to Christ. The most sobering warning of all comes from 1 Corinthians 10:20-21, where Paul states that what the pagans sacrifice, they sacrifice to demons and not to God. And I do not want you to become sharers in demons. By celebrating and wearing a symbol so deeply tied to pagan gods and their dark power, one risks spiritual fellowship with forces that are hostile to God. This isn't just about a logo, it's about what that logo represents and invites into your life. Now, as dangerous as this seductive enchantment is, the next brand we'll examine takes this spiritual battle to an even more disturbing level. It moves beyond ancient myths and into a direct modern assault on innocence and faith itself. My friend, take a deep breath, because the path we walk now leads to a much darker and more aggressive territory. We're moving past the realm of ancient pagan gods and into a direct modern assault on everything pure and holy. I'm talking about Balenciaga. This brand has become infamous for its shocking campaigns, deliberately crossing lines that should never be crossed. We've seen them use imagery involving children alongside objects of a deeply disturbing and adult nature, and even hints of satanic ritualism. This is no longer a subtle nod to the occult. This is a brazen promotion of perversion. It's the very fulfillment of the prophecy in Isaiah 5:20. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness. They have taken the innocence of childhood and twisted it into a vehicle for a repulsive message. This isn't just a marketing misstep, it's a calculated act of spiritual warfare, a blatant spiritual deception designed to normalize the demonic and defile the sacred, turning even their luxury handbags into statements of rebellion against God's order. This is a profound and serious escalation that requires our full attention. The biblical warnings against such actions are among the most severe in all of Scripture. When a brand uses outright blasphemous imagery like inverted crosses or pentagrams, it has declared its allegiance. But when it brings children into this darkness, it invokes one of Jesus's most fearsome warnings in Matthew 18:6. If anyone causes one of these little ones, those who believe in me, to stumble, it would be better for them to have a large millstone hung around their neck and to be drowned in the depths of the sea. This is how seriously God takes the protection of children. What we are witnessing with Balenciaga seems to be a manifestation of what 1 Timothy 4:1 warns us about. The Spirit clearly says that in later times some will abandon the faith and follow deceiving spirits and things taught by demons. This isn't fashion, it's a demonic doctrine being preached through fabric and leather. The occult symbolism here is not for intellectual curiosity. It is a weapon being used to wage war on the family, on innocence, and on the very foundations of Christian faith. While this brand's approach is shockingly direct, others use a more artistic veneer to push a similar agenda. The next brand we'll discuss has transformed itself into a runway for high couture occultism, making it fashionable to embrace the very practices God condemns. Now, my friend, let's talk about Gucci. This is a fascinating case because, under its more recent creative direction, the brand underwent a complete transformation, diving headfirst into the world of the esoteric. It's a perfect example of occult symbolism being marketed as artistic, intellectual, and chic. The designs became flooded with imagery that is deeply significant in witchcraft, Freemasonry, and other secret societies. We see the all-seeing eye, serpents galore, especially the Ouroboros, the snake-eating, its own tail, and constant references to divination, astrology, and spiritualism. These aren't just random, quirky decorations on their famous luxury handbags. They are declarations of a worldview, a spiritual alignment. This is an incredibly seductive form of spiritual deception because it's wrapped in a cloak of high art and intellectualism. It makes the occult seem not just harmless, but desirable and trendy, especially to young people who are drawn to its mystique. But the Bible is clear. These are not neutral symbols. They are tied to a spiritual world that stands in direct opposition to God, and their normalization is a critical part of the enemy's strategy in these last days. The brand's departure from Christian values doesn't stop with subtle symbols. It has engaged in outright mockery of our faith. We've seen ad campaigns that are a clear parody of Leonardo da Vinci's The Last Supper, replacing Jesus and the apostles with fashion models in a scene of trendy apathy. This is not art, it is calculated blasphemy. The biblical warnings on this are severe. 2 Corinthians 6:14 asks, "What fellowship can light have with darkness?" By embracing and funding a brand that so openly mocks our Savior, a Christian risks being yoked to that very darkness. Furthermore, the practices that Gucci glamorizes, like divination and communication with spirits, are explicitly forbidden in Deuteronomy 18:10-12, where God calls them detestable. To treat these forbidden spiritual practices as a fashion statement is to trample on the clear commands of God. It's a dangerous game of spiritual compromise. While some brands are loud with their rebellion, Gucci's approach is more insidious, weaving these threads of spiritual deception into the very fabric of high culture. But sometimes, the most powerful symbols aren't in the new and shocking, but in the old and traditional, hidden in plain sight for over a century. All right, my friend, we've arrived at our final brand, and this case of spiritual deception might be the most subtle of all. We're talking about Louis Vuitton, a brand synonymous with timeless tradition and classic luxury. But what if I told you that some of its most iconic patterns contain deeply rooted occult symbolism? Let's start with the damier print, that familiar checkerboard. In Masonic lodges, this black and white floor is fundamental, representing the interplay of opposites, light and darkness, good and evil. It's a foundational symbol in their esoteric philosophy. Then there's the famous monogram. Look closely at the four-petaled flower shape. Many researchers have identified it as a stylized version of the four-pointed star of Ishtar, an ancient and powerful Babylonian goddess. Ishtar, or Inanna, was one of the most worshipped pagan gods, associated with fertility and war. So, on some of the world's most sought-after luxury handbags, we find potential references to both Masonic ritual flaws and the star of an ancient pagan goddess. It's hidden in plain sight, a tradition of symbolism that most consumers have no idea they are carrying. The biblical warnings about this are stark. The prophet Jeremiah in chapter 7 verse 18 rebuked the people of Judah for provoking God to anger by baking cakes for the Queen of Heaven, a title directly associated with Ishtar. To carry her symbol, even unknowingly, is to flirt with the same spiritual adultery that angered God so deeply. The Apostle Paul gives us a clear command in 1 Corinthians 10:21. You cannot drink the cup of the Lord and the cup of demons too. You cannot have a part in both the Lord's table and the table of demons. There can be no compromise. Furthermore, some esoteric researchers point out that the full LV monogram pattern contains 33 distinct symbols, with 33 being a sacred number in Scottish Rite Freemasonry, representing the highest degree of enlightenment. When luxury becomes a form of idolatry, it's not just about the money, it's about the spiritual allegiances that come with it. It forces us to confront the reality that this isn't just about fashion, this is a battle for our worship. So, having seen all this, from overt blasphemy to hidden symbols in classic patterns, the critical question we now face is what we are to do with this knowledge. It leads us to a final, crucial choice. So there you have it. From the subtle tributes to pagan gods to the overt occult symbolism and blasphemy, the spiritual battle being waged in the world of high fashion is real. This was never just about luxury handbags. It has always been a war for your worship. Now that your eyes have been opened, the question I have for you is this: will you choose to honor God with your choices, or will you align yourself with the symbols of this world? Let me know in the comments below. Has this video changed how you will look at these brands forever? Your testimony could be what someone else needs to see to make a stand. If you believe this message is vital, please subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell, because you do not want to miss the truths we are going to reveal next. And don't leave now. A video with another critical spiritual message is appearing on your screen. Click and watch it now. Stay vigilant.